What's going on, everyone? This is LFC Transfer Room, and we are live. I think we're live. I'm just making sure something's not gone wrong. No, everything's fine. We're live. And I'm joined today by Tom, Kev, and because we've been getting, messages saying we're not representing people enough, there's not enough representation within our chat, and with our new manager being follically challenged, it's important that we get a member on the panel. So, to really round out the type of pair that we've got here, we've got JK back for the first time in 6 months. How are you doing, Jay?
All good, mate. I'm happy to be here on behalf of the ball brethren court.
Are you practicing your slot impressions?
I need to lad.
Doesn't know, JK's got a page called JK Impressions where he does impressions of football managers and stuff like that. So you've got to be working on your slot.
I will be now, mate. I'm off the night, yeah. I'll be looking to get that one in the bag next, yeah.
Next string, we'll get a bit of a slot going.
Yeah.
Slot for slot. Oh, no, that sounds dodgy. Let's not do that. Kev, save me. How are you, mate?
I'm all good, mate. Living the dream, mate. So, you all good?
Oh, yeah, not bad. Warm. I've gone from absolutely caking it down and getting really cold to boiling again now. But, yeah, apart from that, I'm sound. And Tom, how are you doing, sir?
Yeah, all good, cheers. Looking forward to it and also dreading Sunday, as the days count down. But yeah, all good. Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it? Because it's kind of there's one foot in, there's one foot out. It's like everyone's thinking about everything that's going to change and everything that's new and exciting and stuff like that, and kind of ignoring the big painful thing that's coming around the corner, which is obviously Klopp's last day. And they're drip feeding more and more stuff out, aren't they? Like picture of Klopp in the stadium by himself today on the centre circle and stuff like that. It's like I don't know if I want to watch it or see it or read it or anything like that, but. One of the main news stories we've got today is that Pep Lijnders is got the job at RB Salzburg, which actually, if you think about the jobs that he was up for, JK, he was up for potentially the Ajax job. RB Salzburg it's a really clever gateway club, isn't it? Because you go from RB Salzburg to RB Leipzig to, top tier football. It's kind of a really clever decision. It's probably something, that Gerrard went straight from, shall we say, Rangers to Villa, and he probably should have taken another gateway club. Like Rangers was a good step, then go to another one for development. Do you think it's a good choice for him?
Bosh, mate. I think the thing with Gerrard was Rangers was like an institution, so I think he felt after being there that he'd be able to deal with pressure at like Villa and then one more. Drew been back 5 minutes, lads, and getting destroyed.
You want to see how long Drew's hair is, honestly.
Is he not Alisson no more, no?
Oh, no, it's like a knight's tail.
Oh,
comes down to his shoulders.
One. He can lend me some then, can't he? No, I think it's a boss move, mate. Like you said, it's a gateway, innit? We've seen loads of players start off at Salzburg as well and then gone on to have boss careers like Haaland, Sesko, Mane. So, yeah, I think it's a boss little move for him. The thing is, though, obviously, he'll be expected to win the league there, so he can't have asked to hit the ground running, which I do expect him to be honest. As I threw his name in the app for us, but obviously FSG or whoever else hasn't fancied that, or himself.
Yeah, I mean, they finished top of the league, 50 points, 22 games, but they have a weird playoff system.
I know, it's mad,
in the sixth thing, they finished second in that one behind our SK Sturm Graz. Because, I know everything about the Austrian league. I haven't Googled
it. They half the points after the midway section, don't they? So whatever you've got. So they went down to 25 points, and that's why they ended up with 41 in the playoff side of things.
Do you think it's a good move? Do you think it's a sensible place to go next? Or do you think it could have gone bigger and a little bit more?
No, I think what it also does for us is it further strengthens the bridge between the two clubs that we've already got. We've already got kind of some kind of affiliation with them, and we have a good a good relationship with them. So this only just further strengthens that. It helps us with possibly with potential players going on loan, so to help broaden them playing away. Fabio Carvalho could have done well going there if Pep was there. Do you know what I mean? So it's good in that sense. I have to agree with what what Jay said as well, like, do you know what I mean? It's, you know, you look at the young players that have played there, Slobosly, another one, Upamecano, and Jay's favourite, Naby Keita. So, you know, it's it all bodes well for us over the time. So no, it makes perfect sense, and it keeps that alliance between the young Salzburg players, and it gives us an opportunity of keeping an eye on him. And also, it helps us to see how well he develops as a manager as well. It didn't work out for him in Holland, so maybe the second time lucky, we see how it pans out for him. But I'll be watching with great interest anyway.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because there's a lot of talk, Tom, about Liverpool looking for a secondary club and stuff like that. But obviously, we've got a really good relationship with Leipzig. I think that's pretty much well known, and Red Bull and the funds that go with that. Obviously, Red Bull have a great relationship with Salzburg because it's owned by the same bloody people. Do you think there's a chance that FSG potentially invest in the Red Bull franchise, keep a bit? Do you think, am I looking too much into this? Do you think there's something in relation to the whole FSG getting involved in the whole Red Bull franchises and not necessarily buying a club outright, but looking at how, because there's a clear pathway for progression for everyone then, isn't there?
Yeah, possibly. I don't think this has any sort of anything to do with that. But I'd say, in terms of for Pep, I think it is a good move for him. Obviously, it's not a great league or anything, but it might be a good start for him to sort of start a bit under the microscope, have the pressure off a little bit. But yeah, it's a good club. Obviously, they're in Europe most years. Obviously, they win their league most years. So yeah, it's a decent move for him. And yeah, I think it'd be good for possibly Carvalho. I think I could definitely see him going there. I think that'd be a great move for him. And then likes of Tyler Morton possibly as well. Possibly, but yeah, I think for a few of them it'd be a great move, like I said, because playing Europe.
We're going to move on to that, Tom. We'll move on to that.
Playing Europe has to be good club, so yeah.
So obviously we've got a whole bunch of kids, loads of kids. Loads of people that are potentially showing they're good enough. And like you mentioned, Tyler Morton, Fabio Carvalho. No, maybe they're at the stage now, if they're playing in the Championship, where they shouldn't be going to Austria. They should be looking for either a lower Premier League move or a Bundesliga type move as opposed to the Austrian. But, and this is a question for the chat, and this is a question for you guys as well, which is, as we move into next season, what players would you give Pep Lijnders for a year? Remembering RB Salzburg are going to be playing in the Champions League in that massive league format, so they're going to get exposure to big, challenging games, European nights, stuff like that. What type of player from the Liverpool squad, which obviously Lijnders will know very well, would you want to see playing at Salzburg next season? Now, I'll kick off because I might as well stick my neck out there and throw a name out that nobody's going to like. I would send Stefan Bajcetic for a year.
Ooh.
Not because I think he needs to develop anything, but I think he needs that gap as he redevelops his body because he's been injured for a year. And I think playing in a more Champions League focused pressure where it's once a week and stuff like that would be better for him than playing in a high pressure Premier League type environment. I actually think it would be incredible for his development to play in a league where he is the orchestrator of everything. So I would send Stefan Bajcetic there, not because I think he's that level. I think he's above that level, but I think it would give him a real ability to control a football team, which is kind of where I think his development needs to go. But I don't think he can do that at Liverpool yet. So I think it will give him a really good exposure, and then he needs to be a rotational player for us. So my one's a bit controversial, but Lindo saying Dan's Kumas, possibly Naomi as well. Pep would take care of them. JK, who would you send?
Probably Nunez
to Leipzig.
See if he can finish in the Austrian league. Nah, I'm saying that to a few people up in our chat. You are. No, I think Dan's, it'd be a great shout. You look at what he's done with Haaland, look at what he's done with Sesko. I think that'd be a great move for Dan's. I think it's a good shout. You mentioned Bajcetic, but I think he's higher level than the Austrian league. So if he was going to do that loan, I'd only do like a short-term one where he comes back. He gets like maybe 6 months under his belt.
Champions League stage and then comes back.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that so much. But to be honest, arguably, if he's fit, he's probably our best holding midfielder. I know he's not
don't
a
know yet,
6'6" as
mate.
such, but Dan's would be the one that I'd really like to see there, because like I say, they've got a history of developing top strikers. And what we've seen of Dan's, he's been composed and likes cheeky finishes. Pressure doesn't seem to get to him. So I think it'd be a boss little move for him.
Well, we got Dan's Kumas in the chat. Obviously, people are not agreeing with me for the Pajestics thing, which is fine. Kev, what about you? Anyone springs to mind?
Scanlon probably.
Well, it's a good
Chambers being another one. Also Kumas. I think Kumas you're looking at those players that I think that they've got a ceiling to get to, but they're not necessarily going to get game minutes with us next season. It's not going to be like this season with the amount of youth that have been given opportunities, especially in Europe. So that's where you give these a little bit of an opportunity. I agree with the Besesic one, but for up until January, though, do you know what I mean? And see how he does then, and gives him a national progression in. But they'll be the ones I'll be looking at. Scanlon, I'll be looking at Kumas, and I'll be looking at Luke Chambers as well, and maybe Tyler Morton as well. But you don't really want to be flooding and diluting the Austrian league with Liverpool players, which I don't think Pep would want to do. But there's opportunities there, and I don't think we're going to turn around to him and say no to any of them. But it'll then come down to Slot as well as to whether he feels Besesic does need to go on loan for a bit to get the game time and to have the pressure off him. So we'll wait and
Isn't
see.
it funny? Someone's been away for a year, played 20 games for the first team, and suddenly they're the best 6 the club's ever had. And this is the thing, it's a 20-year-old boy that's developing, that's had a serious injury and needs to come back for it. He needs to come back at a gradual pace, not a sprint for me. But I get, everyone's got their opinions and stuff like that. Mulineski, I can't say his name, but he's been, Matteo Mulineski, attacking midfielder, he's been injured for a while as well in the youth team. He's coming back through it. I think he's had one game.
He's going.
He's out of contract, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's out of contract. Yeah.
He's going at the end of the season.
Or maybe I'll go to Salzburg. Tom, for you, who would you send? Kwanzaa?
I don't mind about Salzburg, to be fair. Like you say, he's going to need that sort of time to reintegrate himself, and obviously the relentlessness of the Premier League, we don't really have that time to be bedding players back in gradually. The way Man City are, you can't be, if you want to win a title, which be hard next year, but we'll still want to do it. It's going to be, you can't really be having players at 60%. You need everyone at full tilt straight away. So yeah, I don't mind it, but I probably would keep him. As I mentioned, I do Tyler Morton definitely. Jaden Dans would be a good one, and possibly Carvalho, just because I do think he has the ability, but I don't think he's quite ready physically yet for the Premier League still. So if you're looking outside the Premier League, then Salzburg is probably one of the best clubs in terms of development for players. So yeah, I wouldn't. It might be a little bit of a backward step, but I do like it. Like I said, just because they are such a good reputation for development of players, and he could really develop his game there, and it's Champions League football at the end of the day.
Now everyone's saying Nunez on loan, but Salzburg have their own striker, Karim Kanate, who's an actual 20-year-old Ivorian, looks to be the real deal. He's played 37 games for him, scored 21 goals, 7 assists, a goal and assist every 107 minutes. So like that, an impact a game. I think, and he's a big, strong forward. I actually think there's a potential of some Premier League clubs getting interested in him very soon if he does it again next season. So would they even want Darwin Nunez when they've got someone like that? But they have got some, really good players coming through to keep an eye on. And I'm not going to sort of act like we know about all of them and get the team sort of give their opinion. But you've got Pavlovic, who's a strong centre back from Serbia. He's coming through. He's played quite a few games. There's quite a lot of clubs that are rumoured to be interested in him. Amar Dedic, he's a right back, Bosnia and Herzegovina. There's a lot of talk about him. So again, we probably expect some of those to end up at RB Leipzig because that's the way that it goes. That's the progression. That's what happened with Sesko. That's what happened with a lot of the other players who I can't think of off the top of my head, and probably not come to Liverpool. But there's a lot of good things going on there. There's a lot of good opportunities. So it's probably going to be a really good move for Pep, I think. Paul Lindo says, extend Thiago and send him there on loan to recover. So you want to spend another £8 million? I don't think I'd go that far. Now, one player who may be absolutely ideal for Salzburg, or we may want to renew or extend, not Thiago, is Joel Matip. A bit of leadership coming to that club, someone that's going to be completely free and available, someone who's familiar with the German league, so Austrian league's not too far away in terms of language and elements like that. Do you think we renew Matip, or do you think he goes free agent? Probably, let's face it, more likely he'll go to like the far Middle East than he would the Austrian league. But what do you think, JK? Extend or let go?
How old's Matip now? 33.
32, I think he is, or 33.
32 or 33. I'll double check for you.
See, the mad thing is with Matip, arguably, if he'd stay fit this season, he might be in a better position come the end of it.
He'll be 33 in August.
It's a high earner as well, isn't he, Matip?
120. So for us, not that. No, it's not. When you consider when Lingard was 21, he got 120 grand a week contract with United and did nothing, and then got 350 a week with Nottingham Forest and did nothing. 120 is not that bad.
He's a tricky one, Matip, mate, because I'd have to throw it the way of, would you rather keep Matip or buy a centre half? It'd be buy a centre half, just because it's not Matip's first big injury. He has had injuries throughout his career. He did have that one season where he stayed fit all the way through it, which is when we were at our best, funny enough. But the fact that Edwards has come back and you've seen him trying to shift Henderson on and Milner on before he obviously left, I don't think it's something FSG would entertain keeping him, to be honest. I think if Klopp stayed manager, maybe, because Klopp would probably push for it a bit. But no, I think probably just let him go. We obviously can't cash in because his contract's running out, mate. But yeah, I think it might be time to let Matip go, to be honest. Boss player, done brilliant for us, but his age, it's probably time for him just to move on, mate. If he got another big injury, it'd be seen as a big mistake if he stayed on.
Do you think this is going to be the twist, Kev, from us being emotional, Klopp-based loyalty to players to the more Edwards, Julian Ward's now back? You know, the whole gang's coming back together now. Klopp's leaving. Not that we'll talk about that. Do you think this is going to be the more ruthless, money-focused, money-ball Liverpool, where we bring in players 24, sell them at 30, and just sort of have that rotation?
Absolutely. I reckon it'll be a ruthless task from Edwards. I think he's already highlighted that the transfer windows of the last 2 seasons are nowhere near where they should be. I think sentiment will go out the window because the one who was very sentimental over players is leaving, who was the manager. So for me, thanks for your time, Matip, but it's time for you to move on, mate, sadly, and we move on. No emotions involved. We move on and we move on to better and refreshed. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, we'll find out. But we've got to accept that this is the process going forward, and this is what we've installed as our structure of our team, of our management and our recruitment. So we've got to rely on it, and we've got to get behind it because this is the way it's going to be. As soon as you get to 30, if you're not doing it and achieving it, and you're causing us more issues on the bench and in the hospital room, then I'm afraid to say your days are numbered. So yeah, ruthless as it may sound, I see Matip and a few others may be leaving at the end of this season.
It's one of them as well, and if it is a new era, let it be one.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
exactly.
Let it be one properly rather than clinging on.
You need to keep some leadership for continuity because all the coaching staff are going, but I wouldn't say Matip's a leader. I think he's just continuity, isn't he? He's a change that probably could be made. Tom, do you give him, I assume you're fully up, Matip testimonial in the summer while we're on tour or something like that, or testimonial at the end of next season when, you know, he's probably not injured anymore? Big goodbye from Matip. Obviously, all focus is going to be on Klopp, but probably one of the best free signings we've ever made.
Yeah, I think he's been an amazing servant for us, to be fair. The partnership he built alongside Van Dijk, he's been brilliant at times. I think he's been, I think he's been world class at times for us, to be honest. I think he's been one of our best centre backs of the past 20 years when he's been on his game. He's got everything really, he's commanded, he's great on the ball, the way he brings the ball out. I think he's been brilliant for us, but I do think it's time to say goodbye, obviously, with the emergence of Kwanzaa as well. He's showing his capabilities this year. I think it's just time to stick with him, Virgil, Ibu, and then obviously you got Gomez as a fourth choice cover as well. So I don't think he's needed. I think the age he's at, the wages he's on, the injury record, I think it is time to move on from him. But like I said, he's been an amazing servant and absolutely amazing centre back on his day.
Yeah, it's the injury record for me. Like, I'm looking at 6 seasons in the Bundesliga, 256 appearances, 8 seasons at Liverpool, 201 appearances. He's still made more appearances for Schalke than he has for Liverpool. And there was that period of time, I think, which you alluded to, Jay, which was when Matip was playing in the Premier League and Gomez was playing in the Champions League next to Van Dijk, where we absolutely it just seemed to work because we knew what we were doing here, we knew what we were doing there, and even Oxlade-Chamberlain looked a player at that moment in time before he got injured. It all seemed to work, and we didn't break both of the fragile centre-backs at that point, but that's kind of not been the way moving forward, has it?
The other thing is as well, like Konate's not really reliable, is he, in terms of injury? So if you're going to keep Matip and your 4 centre-halves are going to be Van Dijk, Kwanzaa, Konate, Matip, you could argue you've got 2 centre-halves you can rely on, and one of them is still a kid. Kwanzaa's been brilliant, mate, but he is still a kid. He's going to have ups and downs. He's still going to have ups and downs, Kwanzaa, and that should be expected. You'll get fans who are idiots who will jump on him straight away as he makes a mistake, but he is a kid. And at his age, you are going to have great games and you are going to slump at times. So, no, I think defo get rid of Matip because, like I say, you can only really rely on 2 of the players then, and one of them is a kid.
And Kev, we'll go to Drew's question. Drew, sponsored by Maybelline. Have you seen his hair? It's glorious at the moment. Slot seems to be a friendly guy. I remember Gerard speaking about going to Julio Benitez was beneficial because Ravel was more intense and personal. Do you think players could use less friendly managers in transition?
It depends, doesn't it? Not all players are built like Gerard. So what's good for one? You want someone who is flexible in the way they are and have that management of younger players as well. Is able to put that arm around someone, but a less friendly manager doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be better. That hostility could come out and stem in the way that he's trying to get his thoughts and his process across, and then that comes out on the pitch. I think with Liverpool, we need someone similar style to what Klopp is, so it's easier for the players to transition into, and along with the formation as well. So it makes it easier. He seems a character. I quite like that. I think it's refreshing the way he is. He looks as though he's got a lot of energy, and I think he's the kind of manager that we need in. We don't need a ruthless style that comes in and gets on these players' backs as much as what they have, because they've gone through an absolute they've gone through everything. They've gone through brick walls for the last 9 years, and it needs to be refreshed and a bit of energy in there. And you need someone with a bit of character and a bit of something about him. And I think Slot's got that, and I think he'll bed in and fit in quite well with a lot of the players. I think it helps, as you've said before, about having a lot of players of leadership style to be around him. The fact that he's Dutch and he's bringing us the Dutch number 2 with him as well. There's already, he already knows a lot of the Dutch players already, and especially in Virgil as well, who as a captain will be telling the others how good he is and the style of manager he is. So before he's come in, he's already known to the players to some degree. When he comes in, it makes that a little bit easier for them to come in. We all expect a drop-off. There's no doubt about that. And we are going to have a bit of a roller coaster ride in the first couple of months of the season. And, as it was mentioned in our chat the other day, two losses on the bounce and everyone's head's going to be spinning. Do you know what I mean? So, there comes a time. I think what Drew's saying is great. It works for some players to have that from a friendly person to someone with a less personality, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get anything near that. And what Rafa done, he was lucky to win that European Cup. If if we're really honest and truthful, I'd sooner have someone who's a bit homely, can actually build and embed himself with the players and establish himself so that we have it's basically seamless going forward. And you bring him in and we'll see what we do. But within 3 months and he's not doing it, I'll be asking him to be sacked. But that's just life.
I think, without getting really boring about it, Drew, I think it comes down to authenticity of leadership. If he's unauthentically an angry guy and that's how he puts his passion across, like where Mourinho was at the start, and that's his passion, and it comes across, but it's authentic, it's not just anger for anger's sake, then it's fine. Like when Klopp gets angry, it's authentic. If someone's nice and friendly and that's who they are, and it's authentic, then it can be encapsulating, it can bring everyone on board, but it has to be, Slot has to come in thinking, I am going to be me, not who Liverpool want me to be, not who Liverpool fans expect of me, not of what people expect of. And this is where David Moyes felt, this is a big trap that loads of managers fall into. I've got to be something else because I'm here. Slot has to be 100% authentically him. And if he is, and that's inspirational, we will all follow it. If it's not authentic and it doesn't inspire confidence, we won't, and everyone will fall out of love with him very quickly. And it all comes down to authenticity. Can you buy into somebody? Can you believe them and stuff like that? And if you can't, then it's not going to work for either the player, the fan, or something like that. It's just the nature of human dynamics in essence. Tom, for you, is it you're expecting Klopp 2.0, or are you expecting 2 steps back to take 3 steps forward? We've got someone in chat saying we're going to have less injuries. Jace saying we're going to have less injuries. Don't know how we quantify that, but seems we're going to have less injuries because people think of how Klopp plays heavy metal football, word association games, Bosch injuries. Yes, we've had a lot of injuries, but I don't know what Feyenoord's injury situation was like. What are you thinking?
Yeah, from what I've seen, it doesn't seem too dissimilar in terms of the way he plays and his sort of character. It does seem like a kind of high pressing style, maybe a bit more focus on control of the ball and possession, but they're certainly not, polar opposites in terms of how they play. And also the way he is, I do like him. I think he's got a lot of character about him. He seems like a good man manager. I've seen him, like singing with all the fans and stuff. I like that. So. Yeah, I like what I see. To be fair, I think it won't be a seamless transition, but you got someone there who's far from dissimilar to Klopp in terms of how he is. So, and in terms of being less personal, I don't think that works in the modern day. I think players these days, they need that arm around the shoulder. They're not they don't kind of take to a Rafa type manager. So I do think he needs to be a good man manager. But I think from what I've seen, he does seem like he is. That's that kind of fella. So. Yeah, I like what I've seen, and hopefully, the transition won't be too difficult. Although it's going to be hard. Like can't replace Jurgen, but I think he's the best candidate, to be honest, that's out there, bar Alonso. So just hope for the best, really.
Now Silva's still playing at 30. He's 40 now, isn't he? Thiago Silva, I think he's past the 40 mark. And I think Virgil could go till that sort of age because of his size and how he plays the game and how he reads it. But, it's a fair point with Matip. I think, for me, it's just the injuries. You can't have 2 injury-prone first-choice centre-backs. I think you need to try and have 2 that are fixed and have a rotation. But, there's no reason, I don't think, someone like West Ham, and I throw West Ham just casually as a club that I think could really benefit from someone like Matip. Who are trying to sort of push up. I think someone like Villa, who play 3 at the back and could do with someone that rotate, could really benefit from someone like Matip. I just think when you're trying to bring in fresh ideas and fresh approaches and stuff like that, I think probably, and as everyone said, if we're going to play 3 at the back and stuff, I think you need that more rotational player who can play either right back or left back and centre back. But, it's a fair question, Stephen. It's a fair point. Now, one of the news stories coming out, and obviously all players are getting linked. So and so want to get rid of them. I think we've seen Ferran Torres wants to be given to us in a swap deal for Diaz. I do think more swap deals will happen, by the way, with the new financial fair play rules. I think there's a big chance of swap deals happening, but that's a different point. Ugarte is DM. Obviously, we're going to stick with the DM. Yeah, Kev's already rolling his eyes because DMs is someone that we were linked with. £50 million. Statistically was perfect number 6 for us, but obviously got signed up by PSG before we even got moving on that side of things. If he was available for the same, I'm just going to say the same price, JK, £50 million, Ugarte, number 6, would you take it?
I probably would, mate, yeah. I've seen a lot of rumours, obviously, about Thuram and people saying, oh, he can play DM. He's not a DM now. And it's like McAllister. McAllister can play DM, but he's not a DM. Ugarte is. He is a DM. So there's not a big market now for 6s. You know, with a season or two ago, you probably could have named 5, 6, 7 players that you'd have took there. Right now, you can't. So if he's available, he's definitely someone that I'd be looking at getting. It obviously didn't go well for him toward the end of his time. Well, not the end because he's still there, but toward the end of the season. But start of the season, he was arguably their best player, except for Mbappe, obviously. So yeah, if he's available, mate, he's someone I'd definitely consider. I like Kakare from Lyon. I've mentioned that to you in the chat a few times, and I like Lefebvre from Rennes. But if they're not available in Ugarte is, yeah, it's something we should definitely be looking at because we do need a 6.
I think the thing that always appeals to me with a player like this is in the top 1% for tackles, is in the top 2% for interceptions. An average of 4 tackles a game, an average of 2 interceptions a game. That is a player who can't do much else, Kev, apart from destroy the play. And I think it's good to have a player in your roster who, let's say we're playing a Man City and they're controlling the game, can just come on and destroy what's going on. And I don't think we've got that type of player in our midfield mix at the moment. And that's probably a missing key for me.
Yeah, he does exactly what he does on the tin. Do you know what I mean? He's quality. And you bring him in regardless. And I think Edwards will do a great job and a greater team as bringing him in. Good thing as well, he's Uruguayan. So he may help Nunez with this translation and translations and a bit of camaraderie that he wants, as well as building up the South American players that are already at the club. Great acquisition if we can get it.
It's been only 6 months. This is his first time in 6 months, Steve.
I was just thinking that, lad. I must have popped on for a quick little comment to him to say no. I don't know where he's got that from.
But no, I'm totally. I can't say anything else other than what Jake said. So yeah.
I'll give you more stats, Tom. I'll give you more stats. Tackles, top 1%. Tackles, top 2%. Defensive, third, top 4%. Tackles in the midfield, third, top 1%. Tackles in the attacking third, top 2%. Dribblers tackle, top 1%. Dribblers challenge, top 1%. Interceptions, top 2%. Tackles and interceptions, top 1%. Errors, bottom 9%. It doesn't make errors and just destroys teams when they're trying to come up. So I think, when Man City play this lovely football and stuff like that, it's that type of player. But I'm a big fan of Thuram if he's available for 15 million. But I'm also I wanted Ugarte. I was gutted when PSG got him, which you'll see. I probably mentioned about 1,000 times on the stream. What do you think, Thuram either, or do you have a preference?
No, I'm not a big fan of Thuram, to be honest, just because, like Jay was saying, he's not a DM. Like, he can't play there, but square pegs and round holes. You need someone who's actually suited to the position. Obviously, he played for some big clubs across Europe. Only 24. I do like that in the DM. Someone who just no nonsense, just wins the ball back. And obviously now with the midfielders we've got, they're obviously very good technical players. Sobo, McAllister, Elliott, Jones. Gravenberg. Even there's a lot of technically good players in there. So you arguably, your number 6, you don't need them to be as good on the ball, especially when you got Trent behind as well. So for me, I think we probably do need that sort of destroyer type player. I've liked Paulinho for ages, but obviously age isn't quite on his side. So Yeah, I can get him for a cut price, say 30, 40 mil. I'd be all over it, to be fair, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you look at who he compares to: Camara, Casado, Bentaleb, Sumer, Kondogbia. He's basically just a destroyer and stuff like that. And I think that's always, Lindo is saying UEFA Ligue 1 can't be compared to the Prem. Obviously not. There is going to be some level of transition and stuff like that. I think that's fair. I was looking at in our chat. I was looking at Endo stats in the Bundesliga versus Endo stats in the Premier League, and then looking at Thuram's last 2 seasons as well, because I think Thuram could develop into a decent DM. And you could see the sort of step up, like the number of short passes that Endo now plays has gone up by double. But some of his stats stay quite static, like successful tackles, tackle percentage, and stuff like that. So there is some things that you can compare. I think it just depends. Now, just to get you all thinking and to get everyone in the chat thinking, one of the things Slot is famous for is changing a player's position and changing how they play. Getting a player and molding them into a new position. Now, we've seen UEFA, I think Gutierrez played centre-back, left-back. I think he's also played in midfield for Feyenoord. So Slot likes a versatile player that he can mould into a new position and stuff like that. So in the world of DMs, it's not really a load of choices and stuff like that. There's not loads of players out there that are top of the game. I think players like Ugarte, Thuram could be molded. Ugarte's finished article. But I'm going to ask chat to think about what player is Slot going to mould and change how they play the game for his system. So the obvious one's going to be Trent. So I'm not taking that one. Everyone can park that fucking idea. All right, he's going to midfield. We get it. What other player do we think Slot may change the role of and change how they play? And because you were first on everything, I'm going with you first, JK, and we'll see what people say in the chat as well.
I think, to be honest, mate, there's a good few. Gakpo, I feel really sorry for Gakpo this year. I said last season when he was playing that false 9 role, I thought he was brilliant. And I thought he'd get big numbers this season if he carried on playing that role. This year, I think a lot of the reason his numbers haven't looked great and his performances haven't looked great beginning of the season is because he's been asked to play central midfield on the left, on the right. He's a left winger. We signed him based off his form for PSV, which was left wing. It's where he's played his best football. And I think I can remember about 3 or 4 games that he's played there this season, which to me is crazy. And that's when he's actually looked good. So I think he'll find a proper role for Gakpo. Elliott's another one. I think Elliott's role might change because he probably deserves to be a starter, but I don't think he's got a proper role as such yet. There's a few little players like this though. There's Jones, there's Gravenberch. I think Szoboszlai might play even more advanced next season rather than centre mid, because for me, since his injury, he's been dire. Can't make a 5-yard pass, and I know he started brilliant, and we have people comparing him to Gerrard, and I bet you they feel stupid now. And I begged us all not to do that at the time. So it's interesting with loads, mate. It's not one player. There's a bags of players. Even Joey Gomez, he's been playing.
We'll give you Gakpo so that you don't steal everyone else's answers. We'll give you the Gakpo one. Because Kev's going, how many fucking players left are there? You've just gone through this.
Van
Dijk up front.
Through every one of you.
Yeah, you can end the stream, lads. I'll just finish it now.
Welcome to the JK hour. Kev, have you got anything to say?
I was just going down my list and striking them all out as soon as they were mentioned. No, I tend to agree with Jay. It's not just one. There's numerous of players that are going to be changed rather than the obvious one that you've mentioned. If I've got to put my heart on any of them, I reckon for an alternative, I reckon Nunez may change. I think is the way he plays. There's likelihood either he'll play out and out as a number 9, molded into that, or he'll be played on the wing somewhere. There's a lot of players in there that have the opportunity of being changed in a certain way and become more versatile, or to be renowned for playing in one position. So there's numerous of players, and everyone that Jay's mentioned is, you know what I mean? Even as centre back, I'd still think he misses the ball and we concede more. But it's one of them. If I've got to put my name on one, I'd probably say Slobbers. Like, I think he'll be playing a little bit more forward and have more opportunities to progress with the ball rather than playing in a defensive side and having a defensive mindset. He'll be played. We need to get him on the ball quickly, and it's allowing the players of him and of his ilk quickly on the ball to create chances for us. So I'll go with Dom.
Yeah, I can see him playing left wing. I've got a feeling we'll get rid of Diaz. I think Diaz wants to go to Barcelona and play there. I've got a feeling that Szoboszlai will probably be that left winger. So I kind of see that one. Tom, for you?
Yeah, I mean, that's not a massive change, but finding a nailed-on position for Elliott could be one of his priorities. I think he plays a 4-2-3-1, doesn't he? So that number 10 would obviously suit him. Elliott's played so well this year when he's come on. He's impacted games all the time, but he's not started games because he's not got that nailed-on position. He's not really built for a number 8. His game is a number 10. He's got all the hallmarks of a number 10. So I'd like to see him sort of nail down that position. But then again, you've got Sobbo and McAllister will also be probably gunning for that role. So yeah, it'd be interesting. Could argue possibly Salah as well. Maybe a more central role for him. Obviously he's losing a few yards of pace a little bit now. So that could kind of be could be a choice. Gakpo, Nunez, they're not kind of nailing down that number 9. So what Salah's capable of in front of goal. He's physically good. But like I said, he's losing a bit of pace, so that could be, ideal for him. And then you look for possibly a wide player. So yeah, I'll make Salah my shot.
So by central, do you mean sort of like central in the world, like in the Middle East sort of area? and that's where I'm still of that. I think he goes, but I know there's been a few whispers that he's going to stay and stuff like that. It's just a hunch, but I have nothing to back it up. Everyone agreed with me at the beginning of this season. Now everyone's like, yeah, but Willie. We'll see. For me, I'm on the Szoboszlai and Jones, Curtis Jones as well. If he plays that more, almost like false 9 left wing type position where people sort of come in and link play and the right winger and central forward are more attacking, I think there's a chance that we might see Jones play some of his old left wing stuff as well as Szoboszlai, because I think it's kind of where they can come in centrally and play back. I don't see them as an attacker, but that sort of the Weaver sort of rotation position type player, I can see him playing that type of role with Szoboszlai. Szoboszlai's the main one I think will do it, and I think Elliott will get a nailed down position. I think probably in a 10. I think there's a chance where he's going to get a real big chance to play or impress, because I think he's earned the right to try and do it. It's just whether or not he can fit into a slot system. I feel for Elliott. He's kind of always on the periphery of it all, isn't he? He's like back up to Salah or back up to the right central midfield. He hasn't got it nailed down, but he's been one of the more consistent performers. Where do you see Elliott moving in this slot type system, and do you see him nailing down a starting position? It's difficult because he's got everything, but he just doesn't seem. Charlie mentioned playing him a left wing back, by the way. I'm going to call Charlie out on that. I don't know if you see that happening. If we play 3 at the back, left wing back, that's where he expects him to play. So like Frimpong or Grimaldo, to be honest.
He hasn't got the pace.
I'm not Charlie. I can't defend this position. I'm just telling you what was said.
And to be honest, I was waiting for you three to bash him a bit. But you didn't give me the back up there, so nice one, Jay. The final thing we'll finish on is I think we'll sell Salah. So again, everyone's saying Salah, blah blah blah. But Nunez, one of the things that I noticed at the weekend is he was very still on the bench. He wasn't involved in the game as much. Nunez, obviously, there's been very little communication. There's very little interaction when he was sat on the bench. I don't know if anyone else noticed when he was sat on the bench. He was very isolated. He didn't really engage with his teammates and stuff like that. He just focused on the game. He seems to be very cold
with everything at the moment. And I think that's because of the abhorrent behaviour of Liverpool fans who just decide that they get their kicks and jollies by abusing people on the internet. Do you think he is disengaging from it all, Jay? I've not had a chance to ask you this yet.
Do you know what, mate? If what you took from it was that he was sitting there watching the game, that might be the best thing for him, instead of having banter on the bench with his mates, because that's probably what he needs to do, mate, to just focus on himself. Like, he has got the tools there. I've always said I think he's terrible with the ball at his feet. I think he's terrible with the ball at his feet. He trips himself up before his defender has to tackle him. His strength's obviously running in behind. Whether you blame people giving him a late pass too often because he's offside all the time, are you passing the ball too late, or is he making the run too early? It's a bit of a conundrum with Nunez because he does divide fans. A lot of fans think get rid. A lot of fans think that there's an explosive player there waiting. I don't know, mate. I think it's better that he's sitting watching the game.
Happy Gilmore.
Hey,
you ever watched the film Happy Gilmore?
Yeah.
Where he can't ice skate, he can't do any of that. But for some reason, just has this absolute monster of a shot and can just twat the ball really hard. And I think for me, that's a lot of what Nunez is. He's like, his control's terrible sometimes, but he's so strong, so powerful, and can hit the board so hard that actually he could be a Shearer type player if he just knew where to kick it.
Like, it's decision making. I mean, it all sounds that easy to say, because I've always thought, why don't you just get someone like Fowler just to do a bit of coaching with him? And I know that's obviously easier said than done type thing, but yeah, he really does lack a footballing brain. Like, you know, sometimes you think side-footed into the side and he'll smash it. And then even that goal at Brentford, you shouldn't have even tried that. It was world class. It was brilliant. My favourite type of goal, by the way, a chip. But that shouldn't have even crossed his mind to do that.
I agree with that, but I also think, you know, he earns enough money to pay for his own. And I think if I was a professional sportsman, I would be paying for my own psychologist support and stuff like that to get me.
He needs something, mate. It's the second year, and loads of people keep saying, "Oh, he's improved." His numbers have improved, but I wouldn't necessarily say his game has. He still looks the same with the ball at his feet. He's still not finishing easy chances. I still don't know what I'd do with him. I'd like to see what Slot can get out of him. I think if Klopp stayed, I'd sell him. To be honest, I wouldn't be bothered about selling him, but I'd like to give him a chance under Slot to see what he can get out of him. But it is worth mentioning, like, Klopp moulded Lewandowski, Aubameyang, Salah, so it's not as if Klopp doesn't know how to mould a striker. Do you know what I mean? So is 2 seasons enough time? I don't know, mate.
There's that natural thing I think that's missing, isn't there, Tom? There's just that ruthlessness, that ability to put it in the side netting. He seems to have the skill of putting it bang at the keeper as opposed to the side netting, doesn't he?
Just composure. I just don't think he uses his brain, mate. I think he get, like, sometimes, like, he gets played through and he's like, I'm one-on-one, instead of just composing himself. But we've been saying that for 2 years now, so I just don't see how that can come. Do you know what I mean? I don't see how one day he just ends up composed. Do you know what I mean?
I've said, I think this is what he is, to be honest. Like, you know, he's had 2 years here now. He's 25. You know, he's not, you know, he's still a young player, but he's not like a kid. Like I said, I think this is what he is. He's a threat. You'd hate to play against him. You know, he's got all the raw materials. He's fast. He's strong. Like I said, you'd hate to play against him, but I always just think, you know, when it really comes down to it, when it really matters, I just think he lacks the composure. He lacks the ability, to be honest, to, you know, deliver when it really matters. You know, we've seen that this year. You know, we can't blame him just for the title. But, you know, if that chance against Everton goes in, we probably go on and win that game, and then we probably go on and beat West Ham. You know, you never know what'll happen. These are the fine margins in football, and like I said, I just think when it comes down to it, he'll always let you down for me. So I'd keep him on the bench. I think he's a very good, very, very good option off the bench, but obviously it depends if he's happy to do that.
Yeah, it's difficult, Kev, because we're talking about fine margins. You know, Alisson's got a 4% better save percentage than all the other keepers in the Premier League, 75.5% save percentage. So of 100 shots, he will save 5 more than everyone else, which is, big difference potentially in the title race, stuff like that. Darwin Nunez misses the most amount of big opportunities, and again, if they get put away, it could be the difference between where we finished and where we've gone. It's really difficult when it's so close, because you've got a club that have found 115 different ways to compete, without going into too much detail, where you've got to be, and I don't mean critical of the person, but critical of the decisions.
But these are the fine margins at the very top of the league. And these are the difference in winning a league and finishing fourth, or finishing in a Champions League place, or finishing in a Europa place, or not finishing in Europe at all.
Yeah.
And this is where it'll be interesting and intriguing as to what Edwards and what Slot decide what they're going to do with Nunez, because his biggest fan is no longer there. And I think it's coming a bit of a reality to him that you can't just mess around. So him looking focused on the bench, I'm happy with, because it looks, as Jake said, he's actually taken. I hope someone's gone in his ear and said to him, "You need to start bucking your head down here, or you're out the door." He's 2 years into a 6-year contract. He's a young lad. I think what hasn't helped in the last month is that none of our front three have actually been scored, along with himself. And we haven't really had that. If Mane wasn't doing it, you had Bobby scoring, or you had Salah doing it. So, but to have all three not actually scoring, including himself, makes it even more hard. And now our main striker, Jota, not playing, it then entices people even more when we start looking at him. And that hasn't helped. He's been told to keep away from social media altogether. That's hard for the player, because you do want to go on now and again and he'll have someone who will be looking after it for him, an admin of some sort, of some description. But that's still not going to stop him going on to check. Now, whether what he's done, that's fine. It needs to be sorted out with him. We need to see where he is mentally. But I think he's tried to adapt to us. I don't think we've adapted to a style of game. I don't think he suits Klopp. I think we brought a player in for the sake of it, and we've tried to put him somewhere. He's a bit like Arsenal. He's a bit like Chelsea's Havertz. What do you do with him? Where do you play him? Because everywhere he's played, he's not doing anything for anyone when you're looking at him. Either his touch, whether his finishing. I don't think he's an out-and-out nine myself personally. I think he's more of a left winger more than, and then that makes it even more heavy-sided on there. I thought he'd come in and be able to adapt to a number 9 and become a number 9. He's got the ability, and he's got the frame to do it, but it doesn't help as well. He comes in the same year as Haaland as well, and he's getting comparisons to him and has been compared to him. So there's a lot of things that haven't helped when he's come into the club. That being said, you're at a big club and you've got to knuckle down. This is not like a Benfica. This is not like anywhere else you've been before. You're at the top in English football, and it's in so far the best league in the world. I tend to disagree with that, but that's the pressure he's under, and he's put himself under the headlights, and he's got to improve, and he's got to be able to score goals. He's improved a bit, but I'd like to see what happens next. This pre-season coming up is probably his biggest, because at the end of it, he's either getting moved on, or he'll be moved on at the end of the season if there's no kind of, if he hasn't integrated even more so, or he's not scoring, or he's not doing anything that he's being asked to do, he'll be out the door. And I fear that if he does go, my only fear with Nunez is if he goes somewhere else, he could actually do something that we then go, wow, I wish we would have done that. But then we have to look at where he goes to and the level of club he's gone to in comparison to where he is at Liverpool. Comparison to us is like going to a Real Madrid or a Barcelona a Bayern in the German league. He's put himself under that kind of spotlight for me. I don't want him to go. I think he's still young enough. He can still, if he can knuckle himself down and do something, I think there's a play there. But that's more my heart more than my head at the minute.
I think there's there's tricky elements that are coming for him, because obviously, and the reason I say that is Slot comes in, naturally he's Dutch. Gakpo's Dutch. There's some of the core philosophies of total football and how Dutch play and how Feyenoord play in some respects. But generally, the Dutch philosophy of football, Gakpo will understand straight away because that's what he's been brought up with, and many of the Dutch players will. So there's an element where if it is that total football element where he's going to have to come into midfield, he's going to have to go out wide, he's going to have to do that, really doesn't play to his game. So it really will take Slot to go, I am going to turn this player into an absolute behemoth, or I think he'll really struggle because I don't think he's got the natural ability to play in a rotational position type way. Oh, Jay's just disappeared. It's like he's puts his head down and suddenly they think his head's a green screen. So it's going to be really tricky. I can't say what's going to. I thought he was Salah replacement because I thought he could play on the right wing because I think the ball between him and the byline, because he's strong enough to hold it up, but he's not got the control to run past players, was his future. But I think you guys are right. I think he's a 4-4-2 striker, isn't he? He needs a finisher, a small finisher around him, and he can win the ball and win the fights and everything like that. But he needs someone that goes in the position and scores. And let's hope that he does become that finisher that he could be. Would anyone swap Darius straight up for Isaac?
Yeah, I probably would.
Yeah.
I know Isaac gets injured, but he's definitely more prolific, and his work rate's probably around the same, to be fair. I think the only reason you wouldn't do that's the injuries, to be honest, if we're being honest.
And we've already got Jota for that. Jota comes out for 2 months a season.
Exactly.
If only you could stay fit. So we're gonna keep him for fitness.
Well, look, it's fair to give him a chance under another manager, innit? I do agree with what Kev said. I don't think Nunez is a Klopp player, and I don't think he should be running all over the pitch like a madman either. I seen Watkins doing an interview about it, and he was saying Emery's changed his game by only making him press at certain points in the game, whereas if you watch Nunez, I love it about him. I love the work rate he does, but he just runs everywhere like a madman. And if you've been running around like that and then you want him on with the keeper, you're probably not going to be as composed or as calm because you've been running around like a nutter for 20 minutes.
You look at Watkins as well. He plays within the lines of the 18-yard box.
Yeah,
that's only where he goes. He doesn't go any outside of that. And that change, you see Watkins this season. He's scoring more. He's developed more. It may need something like that. It may need a little tweak. It may need something to go off in his head and go, wow, I'll just do that. But we don't know until Slot comes in and decides what he wants. Because at the end of the day, it's down to Slot what he wants to do with him. And I think that's where, we're now going to have to start. He's going to have to start knuckling down. Because if not, he's out the door for me.
Do you know what? I'm going to finish on this really weird thought of it. Why does he run around like a madman? Because he feels like we need to win the ball back because he feels like the other team might score if we do. If we had, as we started when we talked about Ugarte being available, a top 1%, a destroyer, someone that you knew when they were going to attack, someone was going to win the ball back, and you weren't worried about the other team scoring, which has been Liverpool's problem all season. We've looked open. If there was confidence that you had a DM that was just going to not let anyone score, you would feel a little bit more calm about thinking, I don't have to press this, I don't have to press that, I don't have to run here, I don't have to run that, because you'd be like, he's got it. And I truly think a destroyer of a DM, and even a player like Decore, I'm a big fan of Endo. I think he rotates the play well, but I don't think he's a destroyer. He's good in the air, not anything better than Thuram, for example. But I truly believe if we get a destroyer in that defensive midfielder role, I think it gives the forward players a chance to not have to press as high because they know that actually there's a defensive position and the structure and what's going to happen. You may agree, you may disagree, but this has been LFC Transfer Room. Thank you very much to Tom, Kev and JK for coming back after a 6-month hiatus of evenings and day working and constantly working. He is working heavily on his Slot impression, and you never know, we may release it on stream once Slot's done his initial press conference. Thank you everyone for joining us. We'll catch you on the next one. Take care.